Welcome to Protecting Our Most Vital Resource, Working Together for Watershed Conservation. In this webinar series, we'll hear from 3 different regional initiatives about their watershed conservation work. In this part, WHC's Director of Business Development, Sarah Cook, and Hershey Company's Matt Silvera will discuss Hershey's partnerships to protect the Chesapeake Bay.
Hi there, thank you for joining us. We're here today to talk to Matt Silvera from Hershey Company. Matt's going to share with us his experience in water stewardship as part of our 5-star funded water webinar series. Matt is a sustainability professional with the Hershey Company. He's deeply committed to making a positive difference through environmental stewardship, has the honor of leading Hershey's work in sustainability with a vision focused on influencing culture and implementing holistic strategies. Matt has 14 years of environmental and social impact experience in heavy manufacturing and the CPG industry at plant, county, country, and global levels. He's learned that the critical value, sustainability, and shared value can generate when focused on strategic alignments, nature-based solutions, and partnerships, can advance sustainable development and help strengthen communities. And that's exactly why we've asked Matt to join us today. So we're gonna have a conversation really about how Matt's team and the Hershey Company are collaborating to improve our watersheds and water quality. Matt, why don't you tell us a little bit about the Hershey Company and what you're doing in Pennsylvania supporting the Chesapeake Bay watershed?
Yeah, thank you, Sarah, and it's so great to connect with you again. Joined Hershey in May of 2021, and since joining Hershey, really been focusing on influencing culture and driving a holistic strategy, as you mentioned. Before joining Hershey, I worked for Cemex and worked closely with WHC, so really happy to be able to connect with WHC again and bring more biodiversity and wildlife programs to Hershey.
Great. And that's why you're here. You have a long experience with us. You understand our audience. You understand how we work in programming. And we thought of your group in particular when we thought of how we can showcase watershed-related efforts that are really focused on partnerships. And one of those partnerships that you've shared with us over the last year or so is that you're working with the Alliance for Chesapeake Bay. Can you tell us a little bit about that and kind of walk our audience through how you're collaborating with your partners in that effort?
Yeah. So we have 3 fantastic partnerships in the Chesapeake Bay to improve water quality. The first, as you mentioned, is our Sustainable Dairy PA initiative. It's a partnership with Land O'Lakes, our largest dairy supplier here in Pennsylvania, and the Alliance for Chesapeake Bay. And we work together to improve on-farm sustainability, to improve soil health, water quality, and reduce GHG emissions. That initiative started in 2021, and we've made a lot of good progress in those goals. The second fantastic initiative is with the Arbor Day Foundation. We've been partners with Arbor Day since 2017 and have planted over 700,000 trees.
Wow.
And restored, even just last year, over 179 acres through our large-scale reforestation initiative. The third partnership is with the Chesapeake Bay Foundation, and last year marked our 25th anniversary with the Chesapeake Bay Foundation, and that supports thousands of students in learning more about water quality and Chesapeake Bay awareness through environmental education.
Wow, that's impressive. 25 years, and then to plant that many trees, and then in a year make that much progress on establishing, a cross-sector supply chain focused group. I mean, that's impressive. So congratulations to you and the Hershey Company. You've mentioned predominantly that water quality is a critical water objective that these projects support. How do you evaluate success, especially with respect to the 1-year partnership? But what metrics or what key criteria is Hershey looking for to help scale up outcomes and have a positive influence on water quality in the region?
Yeah, great question. So last year we started the Science-Based Target Network's pilot for self-guided self-guided pilot for water targets. Hershey does not yet have water targets, but we have begun quantifying our footprint and understanding our contextual challenges. In the meantime, to target setting, since the final guidance won't be released till 2023, really evaluating success based on, do we have the right partners in place? Because as you know, partners help us execute projects much faster. They provide the much needed resources and expertise. And collective action, as you know, is so important in improving water quality and improving habitat. So right now, we're just really evaluating based on ensuring we have the right partners in place.
Okay, interesting. And I'm sure it's difficult to select and maintain those partnerships. So that said, what has been the biggest barrier to success or challenge, especially in this burgeoning collaboration on the Sustainable Dairy PA group? So what is that biggest challenge? And then furthermore, what advice could you give to other companies looking to establish these kinds of relationships and or kind of work collaboratively with the supply chain to solve these kinds of water issues?
Yeah, I think one of the biggest underlying challenges is in sustainability in general is just moving so quickly, and it's hard to keep up and juggle all the different challenges and priorities. So I think that's a key challenge. Another challenge is having patience, because these projects take time. And as we approach farmers, when we first started the initiative, we had about 120 farms engaged, but only maybe 10 farms with projects implemented. And it took time for one farmer to talk to another farmer, to talk to another farmer, to trust in the partnership and continue to expand our reach. So the patience was needed because it's a big commitment for a farmer in Lancaster County to commit 1 acre, 2 acres, up to 5 acres into riparian buffer forest. Then that's a big commitment as far as with their land being worth hundreds of thousands of dollars. So just having that patience, and that goes for anything related to sustainability. A lot of the things that we do, it takes years to implement, to conduct feasibility studies, to pilot. So starting early, even when we don't have all the answers, and listening and engaging farmers and other stakeholders.
I have a follow-up question to that then. So what are you offering as part of this collaboration to those farmers making that decision? I mean, what is the transactional piece to this if they're going to give up that kind of asset for a conservation initiative? What are you kind of offering them as a group with your partners?
Yeah, great question. So the first thing that we do is listen to what their needs, concerns, challenges are. And from that, we can show how these sustainability initiatives not only help improve water quality and reduce carbon emissions, but also improve soil health, improve animal health, help make the farm more sustainable, help avoid erosion and protect the land that they have. So really taking the position of not just like leading and just telling them, hey, you should do this for these reasons, but really listening to them first and finding ways that connect with what their priorities and goals are, and showing that these things that we are doing to improve sustainability have multiple benefits and can help address some of the challenges that are top of mind for them.
Interesting, you mentioned multiple benefits. How, and I think you've alluded to that becoming kind of a unifying factor. Has that been your experience? And if so, tell us a little bit about how you see that evolving to help the company's future success in this area.
Yeah, stacked benefits are so important because, as I mentioned earlier, there are so many priorities in sustainability when you think about climate, water, waste, all the different challenges that we have today, and limited investment, limited time, so the more you can do projects that help multiple areas, the better. And often nature-based solutions provide those opportunities. They have the biodiversity benefit, they have the habitat creation, soil health. So really aiming for nature-based solutions that help in multiple ways, I think is so important when you're considering how much we're trying to accomplish in a short amount of time.
Yeah, it's a really good point. And I really like that you've mentioned nature-based solutions. We're seeing that trend across the sectors that WHC works with. And we're working with multiple companies, both independently and then across their supplier efforts, to kind of characterize those nature-based interventions, and how do you quantify, how do you explain, and how do you utilize those co-benefits to get the investment from the company, but then also to show the value to your stakeholders, whether they be inside your fence line or outside. So I think that's interesting to hear you echo that from the Hershey Company perspective. And it kind of leads me to another question about scale. I mean, you've worked with WHC, you've worked, as you mentioned in your bio, not only at the local level, but nationally and internationally. So, you're kind of alike, or sitting in the position of many of our member companies. From your perspective, what are some of the keys for organizations in terms of addressing those opportunities to make a positive impact on something, related to water initiatives, whether it's quality, accessibility, or even equity?
Yeah, I think a partnership approach is key, because collaboration and collective action is the only way to really drive changes in watersheds. Watersheds encompass, thousands of acres, a lot of different companies, partners that can all contribute to improving water quality. And I think that's really the only way to do it, because if Hershey was working alone, we would not be able to achieve nearly as much as we are by partnering with someone like Land O'Lakes, who's our largest dairy supplier, and Alliance for Chesapeake Bay, who has the expertise and the grant funding and other ways to help come alongside and work together. And to work together at different parts of the value chain, I think, is so important, as we all have different relationships and different impacts. And that's one of the things I'm really excited about, is that we do have a lot of governmental relations partners as part of Sustainable Dairy PA, and providing grants and funding, and as well as supplier and the NGO. So, and then you have a brand. So all coming together to drive change. And I think EPA and other agencies are looking for that when they're looking for, awarding grant funding, is just that partnership approach.
Yeah, you actually answered my follow-up question there, because I think you're correct, and we're seeing that too. Again, as we evaluate different initiatives to tackle and to bring our companies into, with respect to collaboration and partnership, and we too are seeing that trend in kind of the funding that's available, whether it's for private sector or nonprofit, academic, or even tribal entities and states. So we're seeing an increased emphasis on collaborative solutions. So it's interesting to hear you say that that's crucial. Where do you see the Hershey Company continuing to influence then kind of the government or policy change and progress around these initiatives?
Yeah, so I see Hershey continuing just to engage and to say, hey, we care about these things. We're working towards developing targets for water, and to engage in how others can come alongside, and we can all work together towards those goals. So I think the Hershey's approach to this is taking a holistic strategy, seeing this as important. And climate change is happening today. So I think it's important or critical for us as an agricultural-based company to invest in this, to future-proof our yields and supply, as I think climate change impacts are the new normal. And our modeling is showing almost double the impacts starting in 2030s. And we're focusing on not just reducing Hershey's impact on the climate, but also preparing for climate's impact on Hershey. So I think that's the approach that we're taking as far as climate resilience, reducing our impacts, and partnering.
And that kind of takes us back to your comments at the top when you were describing the kind of triple initiatives that you have. You have a long-standing education campaign you've been running around the Chesapeake Bay and the watershed, and its significance to a number of industries, not just Hershey and its supply chain. And then you've talked about those co-benefits, in particular, how can these activities improve soil health, soil sequestration and carbon sequestration through planting trees. So I think that's an interesting way to present that broader scope. Kind of at the end of the conversation, again, you've taken us right through this whole discussion almost by just, I guess, fortuitously. That said, I have a kind of a fun question for you. If you had a magic wand, how would you use it to further these initiatives? And in particular, water quality and equity around water quality?
Yeah, I think the first one is I use it for more resources and help. So just to help juggle all the sustainability, fast-moving, accelerating agenda.
Yeah.
Secondly, I think just increasing engagement. So I think we're all seeing this in the news in terms of climate's impact on agriculture and wanting just more action in this area, more nature-based investments, because I think that's the key to helping for climate resilience in the supply chain. So just more suppliers, more farmers, more everybody just taking action to prepare for the future. Because if we wait, it's too late. A lot of things that we do, as I mentioned before, it takes years to develop nature-based solutions. When you plant a tree, the benefit of this tree is really like more 10 years from now than when you planted it. So taking action now, I think, is so important, and for everybody to kind of come together to drive change and prepare for the future.
Yeah, I think you're right there. And resources are a challenge for all of us, right? And in particular, when you're trying to change not only the world and your impact, but also cultures of communities, like you're building trust with your farming segment. I'm sure you have that same challenge with your cocoa producers and suppliers. That said, I think you've given us a lot of perspective on how you're working, and I would really like to hear kind of how can our audience and those of us who love Hershey's products learn more about your initiative, and potentially even how can they connect into it? You're by no means the only agricultural focused organization in the region. So how can we connect to what you're doing and learn more about what you're doing?
Yeah, I'd encourage the audience to check out our 2021 ESG report. We have 2 pages on water that shows our water footprint assessment and how we're thinking through water and working through the Science-Based Target Network's methodology. The second way is through the Sustainable Dairy PA initiative. That the website has a lot of great information regarding what we're doing in at Land O'Lakes cooperative of farms. So that's a great way to learn more and just continue to follow our journey. I think it really helped advance sustainability in the last couple of years, and really excited about what's to come. So I want to encourage the audience to continue to follow, and if you see opportunities for partnership engagement, don't hesitate to reach out.
Excellent, thank you. And we'll definitely publish, if you're okay, those links as part of this event. We appreciate your insights today and you sharing what's happening at the Hershey Company. We're all looking forward to the outcomes. I personally am a Reese's fan, so I'm sure there's others in this webinar who also are fans of your product, and really appreciate your time today, Matt. Thank you so much. We'll talk to you soon.
Yeah, thank you so much, Sarah.
Thank you.
To connect with you again.
This webinar series was made possible through funding from the National Fish and Wildlife Foundation's 5-Star and Urban Waters Restoration Grant Program. For more about WHC's support of 5-Star, or to learn how you can get involved and find funding for your water projects, visit wildlifehc.org/5star.